So I just got done rereading Harry Potter for like the millionth time, and one scene kind of stuck out to me because I actually think the film version of the scene is done far better. If you were to tell people that Alan Rickman, David Thewlis, Gary Oldman, and Timothy Spall all share the same screen together, people would be asking you, well,
what movie is that? Because that doesn't sound like it's a real movie.
and if you were to tell people that it was Harry Potter, they would almost
double not believe you.
Of all things, all of these A-list actors choose to be a part of, it's Harry Potter, and that is definitely one of the things that makes this scene stand out from all of the others. The Shrieking Shack takes up about 3 chapters of this book, which is actually a pretty decent sized chunk of the book when you really think about it. One of the things that makes this scene so special in the film when you compare it to the book is that for the first time in the entire series up until this point in Prisoner of Azkaban, the focus is shifted from Harry to others on screen. Harry is learning about what Pettigrew did and the truth of the situation through the dialogue that's happening in front of him. And yes, in the book he also learns what happens through dialogue, but that's because Sirius and Lupin are literally explaining word for word what happened. In the scene, Harry interrupts every now and then for clarification, but this scene is largely about Lupin, Sirius, Pettigrew, and Snape, not Harry, Ron, or Hermione, which is the first for the series up until this point. The trio are in the scene, but this is about the history and the need for revenge between these 4 characters. In the book, the scene largely starts off the same, though Sirius is in possession of Ron's wand and disarms both Harry and Hermione. Harry still lunges towards Sirius, but in the book, Ron and Hermione join him and start kicking and beating the out of Sirius. Oh, also, Ron's the one that says,
"If you want to kill Harry, you'll have to kill us too."
but when Lupin arrives, that's largely where the scene changes. In the film, Lupin helps Sirius to his feet, and the audience thinks the same thing as Hermione, that Lupin is a traitor and in league with Sirius Black. Sometime before this scene in the film, Lupin has found out that Sirius didn't betray James and Lily, but in the book, Lupin puts the pieces together in the moment and then helps Sirius to his feet. They all yell at Lupin, and in the book, he gives them back their wands so that they trust him more easily. Hermione still shouts that Lupin's a werewolf, but in the book, Lupin feels rather ashamed when she says this, and he explains that he doesn't want Harry dead, nor has he been helping Sirius into the castle. In the film, it still doesn't seem like Lupin isn't entirely on Sirius's side. He almost sounds angry that Hermione revealed this information. Sirius says,
"Enough talk, Remus, come on, let's kill him."
and at this point, the book readers know that he's talking about Pettigrew, but there hasn't been a hint of that in this scene. Then we get this brilliant piece of acting from Gary Oldman.
Wait, I did my waiting! 12 years of it! In Azkaban!
That is not said in the book, and Lupin gives him his wand. Harry accuses both Lupin and Sirius of betraying his parents, and it's only here that Lupin says,
"No, Harry, it wasn't him. Somebody did betray your parents, but it was somebody who, until quite recently, I believed to be dead."
and Sirius tells him,
Peter Pettigrew.
In the book, at this point, both Lupin and Sirius are trying to calm the trio down and tell them it's not what it seems, though their efforts still don't seem to be working because the trio are all still yelling and are almost incapable of seeing another side of things. Which makes sense because, they are 13 years old, and any 13-year-old is not going to admit that they're wrong. In the film, Sirius and Lupin are driven by their anger and hatred for Pettigrew and their lust for revenge, that explaining how things really are is just in the way back of their minds. This is also the point when Snape enters the room, right when Harry is about to get answers for who Peter Pettigrew really is. It's a huge shock for Snape to even be there, so the audience really has the same reaction as Ron. Now, in the book, Sirius and Lupin now explain that they are the creators of the Marauders map, and who Peter Pettigrew really is, how they're all animagi in the process that involved that. So Harry had mostly all the answers that he was looking for by the time Snape enters the room in the book. But in the film, Harry has 0 answers, but his interest has been piqued. Harry still stuns Snape, though in the book, Harry, Ron, and Hermione all stun Snape at the same time. Then the scenes largely play out in the same way, just in a different order of events. What really makes this scene special is the chemistry between Remus, Sirius, and Snape. You can tell they all have a history together, and this is just a continuation of things that have been brewing over for years.
Remus, don't be a fool.
He can't help it, it's habit by
Sirius,
now.
be quiet.
Quiet yourself, Remus!
Listen to you two quarreling like an old married couple.
Why don't you run along and play with your chemistry set?
It's also a great example of show don't tell, because Harry learns all of the answers he's looking for by watching the events unfold in the conversation between Lupin, Sirius, Snape, and Pettigrew. In the book, there's a huge portion of exposition even after Scabbers turns into Pettigrew. The scene is about the history between these characters, and Harry just so happens to be a byproduct of that history. The scene shifts back to Harry when he convinces Lupin and Sirius to give Pettigrew away to the Dementors, and then the scene ends.
I said we'd take you to the castle. After that, the Dementors can have you.
That's one of the scenes I feel like is done much better in the film than it is in the book, and there's very few scenes like that, but the Shrieking Shack is definitely the top amongst those scenes. I would have loved to see a conversation about the Marauders map and have that in there, because one thing I didn't realize is that some people who haven't read the books don't even know that Moony, Wormtail, Padfoot, and Prongs are James, Sirius, Remus, and Peter. But I think for the sake of pacing and character motivations in the film, an explanation about the Marauders map just doesn't really fit in. Are there any standout scenes like this in the films that you think are done better than their counterpart in the books? Let me know down in the comments below. Don't forget to like this video and subscribe for more Harry Potter content. I'll see you in the next one.
Yeah.